Hey little buddies, that's right, it's Tim Cant for Loopmasters, and this time you find me chilling like the proverbial villain because we're going to look at how we can make some chill lo-fi hip-hop to aid with sleeping, studying, or just crying in the middle of the night, standard. And to help us with this, we have Nu Skillz from the rather excellent Rawcutz, and it's fair packed with relaxing sounds. So without further ado, let's get it on. The first thing I did to make this track was to find a musical idea that encapsulated that lo-fi chill hip-hop vibe, so I looked through the Nu Skillz CHORDS HITS FX SAMPLES folder and auditioned a bunch of samples. I wanted something atmospheric, so I mainly focused on the larger samples, which meant they'd be longer, and I settled on the jazzy electric piano chord NS548 key EPI. I loaded this sound up into a sampler, specifically Live Sampler instrument, but any sampler that can do crossfade looping, basically all of them, would have done. I set the project tempo to 95 BPM, turned the metronome on, and recorded an extremely simple 4-bar pattern. I didn't want the musical elements at the end of the sample to play because that would have made things quite messy, so I selected a suitable part of the sample to loop before that stuff kicks in, and used a crossfade loop to smooth out the loop and make it less obvious. Next, I wanted to add some drums. Normally I'd go for a kick drum first, but because this is a hip-hop track and swing is a hugely important part of hip-hop's feel, I decided to make the hi-hat part first. I selected a hat that I felt sat well alongside the electric piano loop, NSMHH Blue Z, and programmed a part in, manually adding swing to the ghost notes by ear. I also reduced the velocity of the ghost notes to de-emphasize them. Logically, I probably should have added the snare next, but I was fairly certain that it would just sit on the second and fourth beats of the bar, and I wanted to do something a little bit more creative first, so I selected a kick, NS Kick Brown N, and created a kick part with a couple of ghost notes at the end of each bar to get a rolling groove going. I then added NS Rim Prep R for my snare, which I placed on the second and fourth beats as expected. The music and the beat are working together nicely, but before I add any more musical elements, I wanted to make sure I could fit a bass line in there. I started by selecting a bass sample that had a lo-fi feel and was also reasonably weighty. I plumped for NS709 BS Rise R and jammed around until I got a simple bass lick I was happy with. I felt the bass part had a groove I could work with, but what I had made was a little bit unusual because it didn't hit on the first beat of the bar, also known as the one. I wanted something to hit the one to emphasize it, so I found another bass sound, NS657 BS Worm Z, that had a smooth out jazzy vibe, and put that on an audio track on the one, tuning it down so that it was in the same key as the rest of the track. At this point, I'm using samples exclusively, and to be honest, I don't have any idea what key I'm actually in. I like to work somewhere in the region of D sharp to A sharp because I feel that the tonic of the keys outside that range don't really hit where I want frequency-wise in the sub end. To check what key I'm in, I bounced the electric piano part to audio and used Live's Convert Harmony to New MIDI track to extract the MIDI information from the audio. From this, I can see that we're in A sharp minor, and what's more, I tried playing the MIDI back with Live's Electric, which is an electric piano instrument. This gives me another musical layer to play with that will come in handy when arranging. I want an alternative musical idea in there that I can use to introduce the track and build up to the electric piano, so I select NS542 Amb Pad, tune it to the key of the track, and create a reverse version so that I can make the sound swell in and out. I also apply XLN Audio's RC20 Retro Color and use the Vinyl 1 preset with a reduced magnitude level to add a touch of analog dirt. The last elements I need are some episodic markers, so I grab NS502 Chord Wet, NS521 Chord Wet, NS537 SFX Dub and NS538 SFX Dub from the Chords Hits and FX Samples folder and shoot them as needed. I then group the beats, bass, music and FX into folders so that I can sidechain compress the bass music and FX from the kick and the snare so that the beats can punch through the mix. I also use Isotope Ozone 8 Maximizer on the master to boost the track's overall level. As for the arrangement, it's pretty straightforward. We start with the ambient pad, add the hat and bass, then the kick, snare and electric piano. The ambient pad is kept in when the electric piano part drops, but I've truncated it so that it only plays when the electric piano plays the first chord, because it doesn't really work well musically with the others. I then develop the electric piano idea by adding the layer I created earlier, then strip things back down to just the ambient pad, beat and bass.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I am just about ready to relax all over the place. If I'd wanted to do some more on that, I could have added a sub in the lowest octave. That would have given it a bit more weight and low end energy, but it would have made it sound a bit less Golden Age hip-hoppy. So I feel like I made the right decision. And remember guys, there are no rules apart from make that money. So with that in mind, I'll see you next time.